Well, great. So welcome back, everyone. Oops, lights. Actually, I need to just check. I need to get the okay from my team. And then we'll start. Okay. So welcome back to Letting Go Made Easy. In this session, we'll be focusing on relationships. In my experience, relationships can be a challenge for all of us. And they're worth the investment of time and energy because we're relational beings. We really love to be in relationship with other plants, animals, and human beings, and the world at large. And one of the most commonly reported benefits from letting go or releasing is a vast improvement in both your ability to relate and in the quality of your relationships. We've had people come to retreats and find their husbands or wives. We've had people come to our live events and find that they can actually let go of relationships that are no longer functional, that are no longer serving them, that may even be abusive. And it's really important to release on relationships so that you do what's necessary to allow your relationships to be happy, to be fulfilling, to be nurturing, to be supportive. Yet at the same time, if a relationship isn't working, it's important to know when to let go of the relationship. We often cling to relationships long past when they serve us. And by the way, even though this is a relationship course, it will be impacting not just your relationships with your husband, your wife, your lovers, your children, your family, but also your employees, your employer, your customers, your clients. It will help with all of that. And so there are a few principles that we'll cover today that will really support you in having loving, healthy, fulfilling, and productive, in the case of business, relationships. The first one is that you, who you are, both your natural you and the you that we often identify with or present to the world, are enough as you are. And the love that you're looking for in relationships is already right within you. The more you feel like you are enough, the more you feel like you already have love within you, the more you can bring that to relationships, the more available you are to finding that perfect someone, because you're not like this, gimme, 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 gimme. And the more likely it is for you to continually enjoy relating and having the relationships mature and thrive and grow. And remember, I'm not saying any of this is the truth. These are just the things that I've discovered over the years doing this work and just living my life. And so when you feel like you are enough and you go also into business situations, if you're feeling like you're not enough, it's hard to have self-confidence. It's hard to follow through on the things that you know you should follow through on when it involves a parent, others. And so it's very helpful to also look and see if you can discover that the love that you're looking for in other people is already right within you. And remember, I'm not saying you shouldn't allow yourself to receive love from other people. All I'm saying is you bring love to every situation. In fact, Lester discovered he was the happiest when he was working on himself. He discovered that he was the happiest when he was loving, whether or not it was mutual or returned, and whether or not the people even noticed he was loving them or cared about them. And it had nothing to do with other people loving him, because he had many people who loved him, but he was still miserable until he discovered this letting go and he used it on himself. And so allowing yourself to be open to and then hopefully recognize fully that the love that you're looking for outside of yourself is already right within you. It is a profound game changer in relationship. The other thing that's really helpful is to allow yourself to give without wanting anything back in return in relationship. But at the same time, make sure whatever you give in relationship is mutual, is not just for the other person's benefit, but it doesn't hurt you. Many times in relationships, we allow things to go on or we give things that we don't really want to give. And that doesn't work. It needs to be mutual. But the more you give without wanting anything back in return in relationships, the better they are. And also with communication, one of the ways in relationship that you can be often the most giving is to be available for and for communication and be open and honest in your communications while still being loving. I still need to work on that. I'm not always as open as I should be to communication. I sometimes forget that I haven't communicated something, or I still sometimes don't communicate as well or as much as I should. And I also am not always effective of being available for communication. So this is something I'm still working on. But I've noticed beyond the shadow of a doubt that when I'm released, that gets a lot easier. And I know that will be your experience as well. So the last principle I want to cover, and then we'll start doing several releases, is in relationship, it's important to find mutuality. Sometimes we do things in relationships that aren't mutual. But if you allow yourself to let go, sometimes what appeared to be not mutual before can become completely mutual. And also harmlessness is very important. Always endeavor to do no harm to those that you're relating to. So the more you pursue mutuality and harmlessness, the more you give without wanting anything back in return, the more you open yourself to both receiving and giving open and honest communication. And the more you recognize that you are already enough as you are, and the love that you're looking for is already right within you, the more profoundly wonderful your relationships will be. And again, this is true both in business relationships and in personal relationships. So let's begin some of the releases. So in this moment, could you allow yourself to just simply stop? Notice what is and be what you are. And then in this moment, could you be open at least to the possibility that you are enough as you are? And the love that you often seek outside of yourself is already right within you. And check to see if there's anything inside of you that's holding on or holding back or doubting that. And if so, could you just simply welcome it? Let it be here. And then could you also welcome any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let go of whichever ones you're most aware of, or just simply let go of all that wanting? Just could you? Would you? When? And again, in this moment, could you be open at least to the possibility that the love that you often seek outside of yourself is already right within you? And who you are is already enough as it is. And then check to see if there's anything inside of you that's doubting that, that's holding on or holding back. And if so, could you just simply welcome it? Let it be here. And then could you welcome too any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness? And then as best you can, just for now, could you let that go? Could you set it free? Could you allow it to unravel? Would you? When? And again, in this moment, could you be open at least to the possibility that you already are enough and love is right within you? Hopefully that's getting easier to do. And if there is still anything holding on or holding back in any way, could you just welcome it, allow it, let it be here? And then could you welcome any wanting to fix it, change it, control it, understand it? Could you welcome any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of that wanting? Would you? When? And let's do that one more time. In this moment, could you be open at least to the possibility that that love is already within you? And you are enough. And if there is any remaining holding on or holding back, could you just welcome it? Let it be here. And then could you welcome any wanting, including wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just let it go? Would you? When? Okay, good. So that's a release I would highly recommend you review many times and keep doing until your natural resting state is that feeling of I'm enough as I am. And the love that's right within you is shining clearly. You'll find that the more you feel like you are enough and the more you allow your love to shine, it doesn't just help in relationships. It helps with everything. So another release that I think will be very helpful to all of us is if we do a release on visualizing our ideal relationship. Now, remember from the last session, when I say visualizing, I don't mean only picturing it. You might hear it, you might feel it, You might sense it in kind of a gestalt, a combination of all of them. However it is, just let that be. And as we release on this, you'll notice two things will come up. One is all the obstacles to allowing that to be in our lives. And what also may come up, if you're already in a relationship, you might notice some of the things in your relationship that are less than ideal. That doesn't mean that the relationship is bad or wrong. It just means that there's more to let go and maybe more to communicate. And so let's explore this. Oh, one other thing about releasing in this way, I would highly recommend that you picture your ideal relationship and let your mind naturally select who it's with. Now, this might seem a little risky, but don't force yourself to do it with one person in particular. First of all, you're relating to everybody all the time. So there may be characteristics or qualities that you'd like to have in all your relationships, not just your intimate ones. But the other reason to not force it to be with one particular person is you can't force another one to change. If you're releasing so they'll change, that doesn't work. And it's something that we need to remember. Often we release so someone else will get better, or someone else will change. Or if haven't been releasing a long time, we take action to fix them instead of dealing with whatever's inside of us that may be preventing us from either having that ideal relationship or improving the relationship that we already have. So in this moment, could you just simply stop? Notice what is. And to allow yourself to be. And then could you allow yourself to picture, using whatever senses you have access to, your ideal relationship or relationships, because you're having relationships with everyone, even if they're not intimate. What does that look like? How does that sound? How does it feel? And could you just simply welcome that into your experience as fully as you can? Really engage with it. Give yourself or give your mind an ideal to picture. And then check inside. Check to see if there's anything inside of you that's saying no, that's doubting it, that's wanting to figure out how to get it, that's holding on or holding back in any way from fully allowing that to be. And then also check to see if there's any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness. Any wanting to do anything with or about it. And could you just allow that as well? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you let go of wanting? Just could you? Would you? When? And again, could you allow yourself to picture, using whatever senses you have access to, your ideal experience in relationship? What does it feel like? What does it look like? How does it sound? By the way, if you allow yourself to picture your ideal experience in relationship, you won't get so caught up in the current details, or in some cases, lack thereof. And could you just engage with that fully? Allow it fully. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just welcome anything that's saying no, that's opposing that inside of you, that's doubting that, and any of the wanting that comes from that or generates that? Any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness. Could you just let that be here? As best you can, just for now, could you let that go? Could you allow it to unravel? Could you set that free? And then could you allow yourself to be open, at least to the possibility that that is possible for you, even if it's not always your experience? And then could you turn it over to the power that is the way? And again, allow yourself to picture your ideal experience in relating or in relationship. What does it look like? How does it feel? How does it sound? How does that all fit together? Could you really welcome that into your experience? Let it be here. See it, hear it, and feel it fully. And then check to see if there's any holding on or holding back or doubt or old baggage coming up from past relationships. And if there is, could you just let that be here? and dig a little deeper and check to see if there's any wanting approval, control, security, separation, or oneness. Again, remember, often the feeling is yes. There's a little bit of all of it, at least to some degree. And could you welcome that as well? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you just let that go? Would you? When? And then could you just be open to the possibility that that's actually possible for you? You may even start looking for where it's already happening in your relationships. And then, as best you can, just for now, could you turn it over to the power that is the way? Okay, good. So another thing that's really helpful is to look for what's already working in your relationships. In your life in general, that's a good thing, but in your relationships and in how you're relating, we tend to look at what's broken, what needs to be fixed. And when you look for that, you find it. And for instance, in the beginning of any good relationship, there's a honeymoon phase where it appears that either your business partner or your personal partner can do no wrong. And then they say or do anything that is not that you're not able to accept or work through or communicate about effectively. And then the mind assumes there's going to be more of that. And it goes looking for that. And it starts to ignore all the things that are right about the relationship, all the things that don't need to be fixed or changed, all the things that nurture and support and help you. So it's very helpful to allow yourself to look for that which is already working in your relationships. Not just in your intimate relationships, but in all relationships. If you look for the goodness that's already there, you'll start to find it. And just doing that will transform your relationships. Because the mind likes to have something to do. And when you tell it to find problems, it always can. But when you tell it to find solutions or what's already working, it will do that as well. And by the way, I'm not saying deny the problems that are there. When you see problems anywhere in your life, including in your relationships, it's important to address them in action, in communication, in doing things or stopping doing things. And it's important to let go, because the more you let go about the problems, the more you'll see solutions. The more you'll find mutuality and harmlessness and love. And the more you'll find yourself spontaneously giving without hurting yourself and without wanting anything back in return. So another tool that is very helpful in relationships is the cleanup procedure. This procedure was originally created for our coaches and our instructors so that we could get out of the way and release whatever got stirred up inside of us when we were facilitating or helping another release. And when I became director of training of the predecessor organization to the one that we have now, one of the first things I did is I decided to make this procedure available to everyone. This procedure was originally created under the direct supervision of Lester himself. And so it's very powerful. You can use it on your husband, your wife, your sons, your daughters, your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your aunts, everyone in your family, and customers, clients, fellow employees, employers, politicians, anyone. And it's also very powerful to do on yourself. I know that from my own direct experience, doing this procedure really improves relationships dramatically. And it's a lifesaver anywhere where there's relating. So let me explain how the procedure works. I'll be asking you a series of questions that come in groupings. The first group will be on wanting control and wanting to be controlled. The second group will be on wanting approval and wanting disapproval. The third group will be on wanting security and wanting survival. The fourth group will be on wanting separation and wanting oneness. And within each set, there's two parts. The first part will be releasing on the person about that particular want. And in the second part of that set, you'll be inviting yourself to choose completely letting go. And I'll explain more about it as we go on. But the best thing to do with everything with releasing, in my experience, is to actually jump in and do it. So allow yourself to think of someone who you'd like to feel better about. Now, the first time you do this, pick someone who you think will be easy so you can get more of a sense of the process and how it works. The next time you do it either on your own or you listen to this recording, you can pick someone a little more difficult and a little more difficult and a little more difficult until even the people you find the most difficult now, you'll be able to really find yourself completely letting go about them. And as you do that, you'll find that you transform in that relationship, and often they transform as well, even if they're not releasing. But remember, this is also something that I don't recommend you do, so they'll change. That doesn't work. Do it for your own benefit, and you'll see why in a moment. So allow yourself to picture someone who you'd like to feel freer about. Using whatever senses you have available to you. And then look inside and check to see if that person appeared to control you, or did they try to control you? Did it feel that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting to control them back? And could you also let go of wanting to be controlled by them? And did you try to control this person? Or did you want to? And if so, could you let go of wanting to control them? And could you also let go of wanting to be controlled by them? Now, you notice I'm speeding up the releasing on the wants here intentionally. You'll find the more you let go around the wants, the quicker it will get. So again, did this person try to control you, or did it feel that way or appear that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting to control them back? And could you also let go of wanting to be controlled by them? And did you try to control them? Or did you want to? And if so, could you let go of wanting to control them? And could you also let go of wanting to be controlled by them? And then in this moment, we'll go into the completion questions. In this moment, could you allow yourself to have a feeling of granting them the right for them to be the way they are? Could you grant them the right for them to be the way they are? As best you can. Would you grant them the right for them to be the way they are? Do you now grant them the right for them to be the way they are? Now, if the answer is no, if you were doing this on your own, you would go back to the questions and do it a few more times. But I'm going to move on because I want us to experience what it feels like to go through the whole process. And then, did this person dislike or disapprove of anything in you? Or did it appear this way, that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting approval? And could you also let go of wanting disapproval? I know you might not think you want disapproval, but often we do without realizing it. And it's easy to let that go because if you ask yourself, could I let go of wanting disapproval? Well, most of the time you can say yes. And then did you dislike or disapprove of anything in them? Be honest here. And if so, could you let go of wanting to dislike or disapprove of them? As best you can. Did this person dislike or disapprove of anything in you? Or did it feel that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting them to approve, wanting them to like you, wanting them to love you? And could you also let go of wanting disapproval? And did you dislike or disapprove of anything in them? And if so, could you let go of wanting to dislike or disapprove of them as best you can? Could you let go of wanting to withhold approval or love from them? And did this person dislike or disapprove of anything in you, or did it feel that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting their approval, of wanting them to like you, of wanting them to love you as best you can? And as best you can too, could you let go of wanting them to dislike or disapprove of you? Sometimes we get our signals crossed and we actually want disapproval because we've gotten that confused within ourselves with love or approval. So it's great to let that go. And did you dislike or disapprove of anything in them? And if so, could you let go of wanting to dislike or disapprove of them? Could you let go of wanting to withhold approval or liking? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you allow yourself to have only love feelings for them? Remember, just do that as best you can. Would you allow yourself to have only love feelings with them, for them? Do you now have only love feelings for them? Remember, this last question in the set is always just a choice. You can choose to grant them the right to be the way they are, and you can also choose to love. And when you choose to love someone, it's not condoning their behavior or letting them off the hook. It's just a choice for you to make you feel better and freer. So again, if you were able to say yes to that question, and you were doing this on your own, you would move on. And if not, you just go back to the beginning and do it a little more of this section. And did this person challenge, oppose, or threaten you? Or did it appear that way or feel that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting security or survival? Could you let go too of wanting to be threatened? Again, I know you probably don't think you want to be threatened, but who knows? Just in case, I would let that go. And did you challenge oppose, or threaten them, or did you want to? And if so, could you let go of wanting to challenge, oppose, or threaten them? As best you can. Did they challenge, oppose, or threaten you? Or did it feel that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting security or survival? And could you also let go of wanting to be challenged or threatened? As best you can. Did you challenge, oppose, or threaten them? Or did you want to? And if so, could you let go of wanting to challenge, oppose, or threaten them? And did they challenge, oppose, or threaten you, or did it feel that way? And if so, could you let go of wanting security or survival? Could you let go of wanting to be challenged, threatened, or opposed? At least as best you can. And did you challenge, oppose, or threaten them? And if so, could you let go of wanting to challenge, oppose, or threaten them as best you can? And then, as best you can, just for now, could you allow yourself to have only a feeling of well-being, safety, and trust with them? Would you allow yourself to have only a feeling of well-being, a feeling of safety and trust with them? Do you now have only a feeling of well-being, a feeling of safety and trust with them? And by the way, if you're hesitating, allowing yourself to have a feeling of well-being, safety, and trust, when you allow yourself to have only a feeling of well-being, safety, and trust, you feel safer. You can still choose who you trust and who you relate to. That feeling of well-being makes you act in ways that protect your well-being. And let's do the last set. In this moment, check to see if you rejected, cut off, or tried to be separate from this person. And if so, could you let go of wanting to reject, cut off, or try to be separate from them? Could you let go of wanting to be separate as best you can? And did they reject, cut off, or try to be separate from you? And if so, could you let go of wanting to be one with them as best you can? And did they reject, cut off, or try to be separate from you? And if so, could you let go of wanting to be one with them? And did you reject, cut off, or try to be separate from them? And if so, could you let go of wanting to be separate as best you can? And did they reject, cut off, or try to be separate from you? And if so, could you let go of wanting to be one with them? And did you reject, cut off, or try to be separate from them? And if so, could you let go of wanting to be one as best you can? And then in this moment, could you allow yourself, as best you can, to have only a feeling of I am you and you are me, and there's only one with this person, as best you can? Would you allow yourself to have only a feeling of I am you and you are me with this person? Do you now have only a feeling of I am you and you are me, and there's only one with this person? And again, if you were doing this on your own, you'd go back to the beginning part until that very last question is yes. So now I think you can see how powerful that particular process is and why I thought it was important for all of us to have it. So just to quickly review, you are already enough as you are. And the love that you're seeking is already right within you. And if there's any doubt about that, just keep letting go until that becomes your living experience. And also allow yourself to release, to find mutuality and harmlessness in your relationships. And allow yourself to give without wanting anything back in return. I mean, sometimes you're going to give and want something back in return, and that's completely okay. All I'm saying is, could you, from time to time, give without wanting anything back in your relationships? And including giving open, honest communication and being open for it. And allow yourself to look for what is already working in your relationships. What can you agree with about your relationships? The more you look for what's right, the more you'll find it. And when you see things that need attention, you're more likely to be able to let go and do something about it when appropriate. So again, this is another session that I highly recommend you listen to often and notice the miracles that happen in your relationships as you keep letting go. So allow yourself to apply this as best you can before the next session, before you watch the next session. And that's all for this session. So thank you for watching. And just a reminder, we're going to leave these recordings up for another few days. So if you know of people who will benefit from these recordings, please share them. Please invite people to have the benefits that you're having. It will make your world better. It's kind of fun to share. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.